This week on the Weekly Read.
Hey guys, thank you so much for coming back to another episode of the Weekly Read. I am so happy to be back with you. I know I said last week my show was going to be a surprise because we really just put this together like 2 seconds ago. So thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Can you just introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah, my name is Vanessa Gabrielle Chandler.
Okay.
I'm a makeup artist. I go by the name Vanessa Gabrielle. I've been a makeup artist since the beginning of 2018, and yeah, it's been pretty recent. And I specialize in makeup for Black women.
Okay, and so, I mean, I've seen your work and it doesn't look like you just started.
Yeah,
How,
girl.
yeah. So like, how did you hone your craft?
It was a whole journey, and it still is a whole journey. It actually took me a lot of time to even build up the confidence to call myself a makeup artist.
Right.
I really started just throughout my college journey, like my freshman and sophomore year, I would just do makeup on myself, or like try and replicate a YouTube tutorial that I watched, or I would do makeup on my friends.
Okay.
And then after a while, I was like, okay, if I keep practicing, maybe I can get better at it. So it was really towards the end of my sophomore year that I said, okay, my junior year, I'm gonna be a makeup artist. That's gonna be my thing.
Right.
And then junior year rolls around, and I'm like,
Nah,
I'm not ready yet.
you're not
Like, I don't have all the stuff that I want.
I feel like that's always what happens.
Exactly. So I ended up postponing it until the beginning of 2018, which actually worked out because it's a new year, new ambitions, stuff like that. So yeah, I just started at the beginning of January. I did like a photo shoot with 4 of my Black girlfriends, and I was like, I'm a makeup artist, what's up? And then from there, it was like the opportunities just started coming in. I found my creativity a little bit more, and as months went by, I just got more and more comfortable with the idea of like being a makeup artist and being a creative and being in that creative field. So it really just came with time, and then also just believing in myself and putting myself out there as a makeup artist.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to go back because you mentioned earlier that you specialize in Black women. Why is that?
I feel like Black women get the short end of the stick a lot of the times, and I actually was very hesitant to say that I specialize in Black makeup for Black women. I was going to stick to women of color, but I just feel like we don't have a lot of things that are just for us.
Right.
So, and I'm most experienced on the skin of Black women. Like, I have worked on fair skin tones, but I'm absolutely not as comfortable with it as I am with deeper skin tones. I'm just more familiar with the skin texture and the different undertones of Black women. So I just felt like I wanted to be just for us. And that doesn't mean that I've done makeup for white women, I've done makeup for Asian women, but I wanted to say that I specialize in makeup for Black women because that's who I have a passion for.
Right, and I think it's important that you say that you I guess acknowledge the difference between Black women and women of color, because a lot of people think that the only women of color are Black women, when really people from Asian descent or Latin descent or just like a million different fall under that category.
Yeah, and I think that's super important to make that distinction, because as a Black woman, there's something very clear about being from those different ethnicities. So from my experience as a Black woman, there are certain like social and cultural contexts that come with being a Black woman specifically.
Speak on, girl.
Yeah, so the fact that I can walk in and be like, oh, I like your box braids.
Right.
Like, not all other ethnicities can relate to that experience because they're not a Black woman. So I think that's important to know.
Well, now that you said that, I was just thinking about the whole topic of, I guess, cultural appropriation and whether or not, so I guess I'll ask you whether or not you consider a white woman having box braids. Do you consider that cultural appropriation?
I've thought about this
Me too.
lot.
It's
so
hard question.
Because every time I'm like, no, that's cultural appropriation, I see an Instagram post and I'm like, well, wait, maybe she just wants to wear her hair like that. So I don't think it's a black and white question. I think a lot of it comes down to the individual and the reason for why they want their hair like that. So if you're like, oh, I want to be like the Black girl, so I'm going to get my hair in box braids, then that's cultural appropriation. Because you're doing it to emulate that specific culture. And I know I've seen different things about like cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation.
And like assimilation too.
Exactly. So I think it's just like a really fuzzy gray area.
Like most things.
Yeah, I'm not the type of person to like attack anybody or to like come at anybody if they wear their hair a certain way. I might have some thoughts about it, but I'm never going to like come at you for that reason or anything like that.
So, being a makeup artist, what are your current thoughts on the beauty industry currently in relation to Black women and in general?
Yeah, I also watch a lot of YouTube videos, which is where I get a lot of my makeup information actually. So when a product drops, I'm always watching videos about how people are responding to it, how the product works. So I would say it's definitely evolved just in inclusivity of like shade range alone. It's come, I don't want to like spice it up and be like it's come a long way, because it has, but it still has a lot of work to do. So you see bigger brands like Tarte, they came out with a foundation launch this past year that was pretty unimpressive. Beauty Blender just came out with a foundation launch.
Oh my god, and I heard it's horrible.
Yeah, it's like, if you look at the PR package, it's basically 2 levels of foundation. The entire first level is all for lighter skin tones, and then maybe like a half to a quarter of the bottom level is for deeper skin tones. So we maybe have like, if it's like this much foundation, there's this much that we can use. But even that is seen as improvement for some brands who didn't even venture past caramel or whatever natural buff tones that they use to describe us. You know what I mean? So currently, it's, as a Black woman who is walking down the aisles of like, let's say a Target or a Walmart, it can still be very discouraging because sometimes the shades just aren't there at all. It's not even like the shades are sold out. It's like they were never stocked. So it can definitely still be discouraging. But then you also have brands like Fenty Beauty who are coming out, and they're just
have like
killing
any
it.
like shade that
like every shade you would ever want, not only in foundations but also in concealers. And then they also have like universal lip shade and stuff like that. So I feel like mainstream beauty has definitely been doing a lot better in terms of inclusion. But also smaller brands are coming up as well. One of my favorite beauty brands is a brand called Ava Beauty that launched earlier this year in February, owned by a Black woman, and the representation that they have is just incredible. Like they're always doing collaborations with different beauty influencers, all of different races, ethnicities, shapes, sizes, skin tones. So on a larger scale, I think mainstream beauty still has a lot of work to do, but on a smaller level, there are a lot of really incredible women of color who are coming up with their own beauty brands, and I think it's time that they recognize this as well.
Right, and it's crazy that makeup is changing so much. I have a god sister, she's 14, and we were talking about this last week. We were in the makeup store, and I was explaining to her that when I was doing my makeup, because I don't wear makeup, but when I was in high school and I was really into it, you only really had like the foundation, the blush, like the eyeliner, the mascara, and that was really it. And it's just crazy to see how much it's changed even since I was 14. So what, in the last 8 years? Because I had never heard of a highlight. I had never heard of like, I heard of
contour,
like any of that. And then I feel like now it's just kind of rampant. But when you look back at models and makeup artists who have been doing it, they've been talking about it, and it just wasn't in the conversation until recently. And I don't know if maybe that is because of like the Kardashians. I feel like Kim Kardashian was the first time I heard the word contour, but I have my own feelings about her and her makeup line and Kylie Jenner's makeup line.
That could be a whole other interview.
Oh, girl.
Listen. But I definitely agree that there have been a lot of trends that have just come in and dominated the industry. Like you said, like highlighting and contouring, I think would be the biggest ones. Also, the Beauty Blender didn't exist as of a few years ago. I mean, they did have like typical beauty sponges, but that signature Beauty Blender is super recent in terms of like the history of makeup. It's like very, very, very soon that just started becoming popular. So we're starting to see a lot of different products, like liquid lipsticks are becoming more popular, and I think a lot of that can be attributed to just like the rise of social media and interconnectivity and YouTube. The makeup on YouTube is
I've never even looked at videos because like just to think about it, like I'm just like how did you do that, you know?
It's incredible. There are like hundreds, I would say hundreds of thousands of beauty gurus on YouTube, anywhere from like 5 subscribers to like 5 million subscribers. So
yeah, people are making like whole careers off that type of stuff.
Like traveling the world, starting their own beauty brands. There are a ton of YouTubers who have launched either their own eyeshadow, like individual palettes, or they've launched an entire beauty brand. I've also seen beauty gurus launch hair brands. So YouTube is an incredibly powerful force in a lot of industries. You doing it though. Look at you. You got your lighting, you got your camera, you got your fountain.
I'm trying. I feel like this brings me calm. No, but I think it was on Twitter. And I had seen like this old picture of like Naomi Campbell like from the early 2000s, and just seeing how chalky like makeup was for black girls was back then. But like I guess at the time nobody really saw a problem with it, or at least nobody really addressed it. And it's just crazy. It's like we were talking about how Fenty especially has so many shades, just like what they used to do to us back then. It was like, it looked like she had chalk on her face.
Yeah, and I think since that was probably, I guess, what mainstream beauty brands were offering, it's like we don't have any other choice. Like we can't go into our kitchen and mix up our own foundation. I mean, I'm sure we could somehow, some way, but like those resources or that knowledge on how to do that is probably very scarce. So it was kind of like, this is what we got, so this is what we got to use. And I'm guessing until brands started really changing around their formulas and really taking into account that we don't want to look that way, that's when we start seeing more saturated color tones and foundations that actually match our necks. And when you take a picture with flash, you don't look even more dusty.
Yeah, or like doughy. I don't understand anything about makeup, but I know what it looks good and what doesn't. But I didn't realize how many shades there were out there. This is really sad. I didn't realize how many shades there were until like I started seeing like people, putting out like 50 foundations and stuff like that. I'm like, really? Like they're so close to each other, but when you put it on somebody's skin, you see the difference. Yeah,
and it's not only just the shade of the foundation, it's also the undertone of the foundation. So somebody can have yellow undertones, somebody can have blue undertones, somebody can have olive undertones.
And I'm learning this.
So it's not just deep dark shades or medium dark shades or light medium shades. It's also looking at the undertones of the skin, because even if you have a shade that matches like your skin tone, you also need to look at like the undertone of your skin as well to make sure that matches up. Because if you got a yellow undertone but you're wearing a neutral color foundation, it's going to make you look washed out. Or if you have a neutral undertone and you're wearing a red tone foundation, you're going to look like your face is bright red, or you're going to look like an oompa, sometimes people say. So I think the more the merrier, as many shades as possible. And I know there is like some conflicts, I guess, with beauty brands saying, okay, we made these deeper, darker shades, but nobody's buying them, so we're not going to make them any longer. Which is a debate in itself.
Everything is just so complicated.
I know. And my opinion is, if you're a multi-billion-dollar beauty brand,
you can afford it.
You can afford it. Yeah.
I completely agree. I completely agree. So recently there's been like this no makeup movement that some people are doing, like an anti-makeup. And what I don't like about it is that I feel like with everything, when people try to like, I guess, separate themselves, they then like try to shit on people.
How do you say this nicely?
You just gotta say it, and I just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think the no makeup movement is awesome. I guess I fall into that movement on a regular basis. I actually very rarely wear makeup.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
That's funny.
Yeah, I used to actually wear it very often, like throughout my junior year, and then the summer hit, and it was hot, and I just didn't feel like it. And that's a whole other thing as a creative, going through like different ebbs and flows with your creativity. Because there are weeks at times where I was like, I don't even want to touch makeup. I don't even want to look at makeup. So right now I'm in a place where I don't wear makeup frequently just because my schedule's busy. I don't feel like doing it in the morning. It's a lot of work. But then for situations like these, I'm about to the camera,
you gotta be cute.
I do like to get cute, you know what I mean? So I think the no makeup movement is awesome. I think it can be very empowering to women to say, you don't need to wear makeup every day. You don't even need to put on eyebrows every day. You don't need to put on lashes every day. You don't need to put on highlighter every day. You can be yourself, and that's okay, and that's acceptable, and that's beautiful. But I also agree that there's a fine line between, oh, she looks so beautiful without makeup, or oh my gosh, she wears makeup every single day. I don't even know what she really looks like.
I got a question.
Cool. Colby, our camera guy, has a question.
Do you think, when it comes to makeup, that that when women, well, mainly girls at a young age, like being taught to wear makeup, do you think that has like any implications of like telling them like their natural selves isn't, beautiful enough that they need to do these types of things to like make themselves prettier? Like, how do you feel about that?
I think there's definitely a very fine line with that, and I think it ultimately comes down to self. Because there was a point in my life where I would not walk out the house without some type of makeup on. Yeah. And I would just be so self-conscious. I wouldn't think I would look good. Like, I could literally be going, like, outside to take out the trash, and I'd be like, let me just...
Really?
Yes.
And it's funny you say that because my grandma, she's probably going to hate me for saying this, but she will not go anywhere without lipstick. I remember, her taking me and my brother she babysat us at one point. And she had took me and my brother to the bus stop, and she put on lipstick before she walked us down the street. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But I get it. And I've been there. That's very real.
I think it comes down to yourself, because you could know how to do the most beautiful makeup in the entire world, but if that's something that's damaging to you more than it is uplifting to you, then there's an issue there.
Right.
So you have to really think about, why am I putting makeup on? Is it because I don't feel like I'm good enough to not be wearing makeup, or is it because today I have something special going on, or today I just feel like looking a little extra? Because when you put makeup on, it's not because you want to look ugly.
Right.
It's because you want to look cute.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you have to realize what your intent is. Yeah. And what energy you're putting into doing your makeup, whether it's I'm not good enough, or I know I look good but I'm gonna look better, kind of thing.
Yeah, I see. So when I get makeup done now, it'll be for if I have a photo shoot or something. But like I said, I used to do my makeup literally every single day. Would not walk out the house without it. And I really think that's because you were talking about intent, and I think that stems from when I was in about junior high school. I used to get bullied, kind of. I say bullied but I don't know in quotes, because some people probably wouldn't consider it, but I do. Yeah. So people would tell me I was ugly, or that I looked like a roach, and oh yeah,
that's bullying.
Yeah. But anyway, and I had this one guy that I really liked. We met at a party. He probably doesn't remember. It's crazy how you hold on to things.
Oh yes, I have so many things.
Yeah, but I think I was probably 12, 13, and we had started dating, whatever that meant for a 7th grader. And I remember his friend told me that he wanted to break up with me because he said I looked better in the dark. And like I said, I met him at a party. And from that day until probably fall 2016, I wore makeup pretty much every day. And yeah, I know. And it just really makes you think, well, why am I doing this? And makeup, I don't think makeup is bad. But I think that you should be able to find beauty in yourself without it. And I think like you said, it's a fine line between do what makes you happy, or fuck you, because
you don't adhere to this certain movement, or I feel like I've seen a lot of that, of just people just in Instagram comments alone, just saying, oh, she wears too much makeup, or oh, why does she do her makeup like that, or oh, she wears makeup every single day, we don't even know what she looks like. Okay, that's not,
why do you care?
If that's how she likes to express herself, or if that's how she likes to present herself to the world, I think that's fine. Now, again, there is something to be said if it's being done in an unhealthy way.
A compulsive.
Yeah, or you feel like you need to do it in order to be received a certain way. But that's not really for anybody to discuss but that person with themselves.
Right. Yeah.
So leave yourself out of it unless you're complimenting her.
Right.
Or him.
Yeah, I mean nowadays I've seen men beat faces better than I see.
Yeah, some of my favorite YouTubers are male beauty gurus, and they're at this point I don't even really see a distinction between the two. I just see beautiful makeup
and talent.
Beautiful makeup and talent. So it honestly didn't even occur to me that it's strange for men to wear makeup. That thought hasn't even crossed my mind until recently, when I was I was home for Thanksgiving break, and me and my mom, I had walked into her bedroom to ask her something, and the '70s show was on, and I forget the name, guys. Ashton Kutcher. Yeah. He had like a full beat on for like a certain scene, and she just was like, she's pretty religious. She was like she didn't say anything, but you could just tell there was so much like disapproval. And in that moment, I was like, oh wow, people really still
like feel that
think
way.
that
It's crazy.
this is not okay.
Yeah.
It's makeup.
Yeah.
It's just a form of artistic expression.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with you.
Right,
So what does it matter if
it has
a guy
nothing
wants
to
to
do
wear
with you
makeup?
or his sexuality at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Either.
Like there are straight men who want to wear makeup. There's
Yeah.
straight men who want to get their nails done.
Right,
Like,
right. I agree.
it's not. Makeup is not. I mean, if you are going off of like mainstream ad campaigns, you would automatically think that makeup is just for women,
Right.
and that's another area of work that the beauty industry
You have to do. Yeah.
has to work on. But from my perspective, makeup is just another type of paint that everybody's welcome to use.
I agree.
Yeah.
Type of paint. I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that. I'm thinking. I really like that. Because I really never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
But I guess it is like a form of artistic expression.
Really.
Yeah. And I pray that the industry continues to change
Me
because
too.
and be more inclusive of people. Period. And that leads that leads me to my next question, which is how do you feel about the media industry right now and the way it portrays beauty, women, anything?
Yeah, that actually makes me think of the other day when I was in, I think it was like a CVS or a Rite Aid. I never buy magazines, but I just like skimmed the magazine section, and I found like 8 magazines with Black women on the cover. And I was, oh my gosh, I was losing my mind. I was just so excited to see that we were being represented across so many magazines, and not just Essence.
Right.
We were on all different types of covers.
People.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was 8 out of how many?
Yeah.
So, of course, progress, but there's still more work to do. But I feel like mainstream media is catching on that we are extremely talented, we are extremely beautiful, and we are extremely notable. Like, we're doing incredible things all over the world in all different industries. We're so dope. Like, I love Black women so much. And I feel like we're starting to finally get the recognition that we deserve in small ways, like magazine covers. That can be a big way in sometimes as well. But I think similar to the beauty industry, progress is being made, but there's still a long, long way to go.
Right. And so, in terms of progress, do you think it's progress being made because they want to be more inclusive, or do you think it's progress being made because they feel like if they don't, then it's their brand is going to go down? Because that's a question I ask myself all the time.
That's a really good question, and that's hard.
It's hard to answer.
Yeah, because we're not behind the scenes in those boardrooms hearing those conversations of, oh, we want to feature Viola Davis because she's an incredible actress and she's done this, that, and the third, or we've been receiving pressures from our viewers, so let's put her on this cover for March. Yeah. So I think it's honestly a bit of both. I think there is a lot of genuine love and support for Black women out there, but I think there's a lot of exploitation of Black women as well, where they're gonna, for example, the magazine cover, we're gonna put on the cover because we know it'll sell, or we're gonna put her on the cover because that's just what people are prompting us to do.
Right.
So I think it's probably a mixture of genuine support and just exploitation.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about it a lot more recently because people with vitiligo are now being put on covers, and people with a whole lot of freckles or things like that, and it just makes me question, like, are you guys doing it because you want to, or are you doing it because you feel like you need to?
Or even because it's like a wow factor type of thing. Like, oh, look at this.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
Vitiligo, yeah.
Oh, look at this woman with vitiligo. She's so beautiful or exotic or different. Or are you appreciating her because she's an incredible model?
Yeah.
So
it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard to put yourself out there in that way, not knowing what people's intentions are.
I am really happy to see that it's become a lot more accepted and not so. I think there is always going to be that bit of wow factor because it is a rare occurrence to see somebody with that condition. but I think it's determining that, again, that wow factor from you're just exploiting them because you want people to purchase your product because of that wow factor.
Exactly. And so I have one more question for you,
Yeah.
and then we're just going to wrap up. So my last thing is, how do you feel about the support that Black women have for each other, or the lack thereof? And have you noticed that in your business?
Yeah, I surround myself with Black women who just support each other. Yeah, we should. We've been needing to meet for a long time.
Right?
I guess I can only really speak from my perspective. I have an incredible support system of Black women surrounding me, from my mom to my friends that I've known for years to friends that I have just met today. I just feel like I've done a really good job cultivating that community. So I guess you can say I'm a little bit biased because I'm always like, Black women are always supporting Black women, but in reality there are still a lot of Black women who don't support other Black women, and that goes back to, in my opinion, a deeper issue than just I don't like Black women, because I think that is a reflection of yourself. Because when I look at you, I see me. So
there's a poem that goes like that. When I look at you, I see myself. It's like something about my sister. But go ahead.
Exactly. So I think there is maybe a little bit of self-hatred
we could like do a whole other show.
Within Black women who don't support other Black women, and sometimes I don't even think it's intentional. It's just how we have been raised to interact with each other. Because exactly, how often do you really see Black women? Like, if you take, for example, shows like Love and Hip Hop or Bad Girls Club, they're literally shows of Black women battering, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally, sometimes verbally, battering other Black women. And that's like some people's like main form of entertainment. Like Love and Hip Hop is their go-to, Bad Girls Club is their go-to kind of thing. Yeah, it's super toxic. And those are the images that sell, and those are the images that get views. So
in the shade room too. Just
exactly.
I consider the shade room a cancer to the Black community, but
it's
a
lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot to take in. So I think I love to see Black women support other Black women. It warms my heart. I've like literally sat and watched videos of just Black women being Black women and just cried because I'm just so happy to see that they're being represented, and so happy to see that they're happy doing what they're doing with their lives and with their passions. So I think for me personally, I see a great deal of support for Black women, especially within makeup and working with other Black women, and just having those conversations when people are in my chair, and just having that exchange of just, oh, I'm so proud of you and what you're like. There are so many times where like I just text my phone like, I'm so freaking proud of you for this project that you just released, or for this photo that you just took, or for this video that you just put together. And I think
you wrote me. You told me my
probably. I'm weird. Every time I go on Instagram, I just go through my stories and I'm like, girl, you're doing so good. I love this project.
That's why you have a lot of positive energy.
I try.
The world needs more people like you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean.
So, is there anything last thing that you wanted to say before we go?
Just thank you for having me on your show and having this platform for people to express themselves. I feel like a lot of people think that when people have like a show like this, that they only interview like certain like levels of people, like, oh, you gotta have like 20,000 followers or something like that. So I appreciate that you have this platform for people who are just starting out and just kind of getting like their foothold in whatever industry
that makes me feel so happy, because really the premise of my show is that I think I put up a poll on Instagram. This is like completely unrelated, but I put up a poll on Instagram and I asked people if they felt like they had a story to tell, and the amount of people who said no was crazy, and it just was like, we're ordinary people with extraordinary stories, and that's really the reason why I did my show. Thank you. That's the reason why I did my show. So when people are like, I was surprised you wanted to work with me, I'm like, no, like, come on, let's do it, you know? So thank you for saying that. You just made my day. But I also want to thank you guys so much for watching another episode of The Weekly Read. This was a great episode, so thank you so much again for being here. And next week's show will be a whole lot of fun because Colby, our camera guy who asked this question, he will be interviewing me. And after that, we only have one show left. But if you are interested, or if you know anybody else who might be interested in being on the show, please email us at theweeklyread@gmail.com. And that is a wrap.